As I walk to work today, I reflect on what's happened in the past week. My company, which is a very large tech company, I'm not going to mention it, but it's not really a secret that I work for them, but it's a large tech company, the oldest tech company you can say, just had a big round of layoffs, company-wide. And, it's all to do with cost, as has been communicated with me. But it was largely, as far as I know, everybody I know who's been laid off is in the U.S. And we have locations worldwide. So far, they have not been affected, as far as I know. That includes Canada, Germany, Ireland, India, among others. There's too many other countries to even mention that we have offices in. And from what it sounds like, the decision was made, given to the executive of the specific business unit. And so my business unit executive, it seems, decided to lay off my entire team except for me. And that's a very strange feeling to be in. There's a lot of uncertainty at what's going to happen. How are we going to cover what we need to cover? How are my colleagues doing? How are they going to find something new in this tough market? I think what saved me is that last year I went through a soft layoff process where I was given an ultimatum: either return to the office, come in 3 days a week, or take a severance package. And it was because I had moved outside of the 50-mile radius that was deemed sufficiently close enough that you could be going into the office. So I was part of this kind of soft layoff, as it were, because apparently what people say is it looks bad for a company to have too many layoffs. So now at my time at this company, I've been through a few of them, and they've strongly affected me. So while I haven't actually been directly laid off yet, I've been given ultimatums by my company before, and I have to choose whether to adhere to them or not. So the most recent one was this return to office, which happened last year, and I decided to move and keep my job for the time being after weighing the pros and cons and looking at the job market and realizing it's pretty tough. So I moved. And the previous one before that was around the COVID vaccination. That was back in, I guess, 2020 or 2021. When did the vaccine come out? Around that time, we were required to get the COVID vaccination or leave. And I decided to go through the exemption process. So I went through this whole process of writing up a religious exemption request, getting interviewed about my religious beliefs, and there were some questions I just declined to answer because I thought it was really not their right to ask me about that. And I felt that what I had written in my basically statement of faith that I had to send them was sufficient, because in the interview they could have led me a certain way and kind of gotten me to say something I didn't mean to say, or it could have been construed a certain way. So I've been through these soft layoffs, and I think what saved me this time with this current layoff is the fact that I did move to this new office. And while that's kind of a weird reason to still be at a company, it's very interesting that I still have my job. Is it some sign? Because, I do think about exploring other options. There definitely are other options for me. But right now, I've been very much in alignment with my soul's calling of really focusing in and harnessing my creativity. So it seems that the time is still good to be having this job that can financially support me, so I don't have to worry about my finances while I do step into my creative expression. But yeah, layoffs make you feel like not a person anymore, especially when they're done at such a wide level. The company makes you start to feel like a number or a collection of data, metadata, rather than a person. It's like, okay, does my data check these boxes? And if they do, does that mean I'm getting laid off or not? And you're going to drive yourself crazy thinking about why or what it is. But in my specific area, my entire team was laid off. But then in other areas, the same job function was not laid off as entirely. So it's interesting how the values of the leaders vary across. Sounds to me like they were just given like a target. You need to cut this amount of cost. Doesn't matter where you pull it from, just figure it out. And so my leader decided to do my team's job function rather than some other job functions, or to distribute it more. And who knows what's really going on behind. I imagine it's not an easy decision, especially when you think everybody's jobs are important. But you have to decide at some point who to cut and who stays. But when you're on the receiving end of it, it's really hard. And especially when there's situations like that, return to office or the COVID vaccination requirements, where it's like, we're too cowardly to lay you off outright. So we're just going to see who we can get to leave based off of, whether or not they're going to agree with us and stay. I certainly don't agree with them for these things, but ultimately I did stay because just because executive leaders make a certain decision doesn't mean that the people I work with are bad people, that the overall work environment is bad for me. I made the decision that, okay, this job gives me the balance and support that I need to follow my dream. And while it's not perfect, it's far from it. The grass isn't always greener in other places either. So layoffs are hard. And yet they're also an opportunity to kind of push us into opportunities that we weren't planning to pursue, paths that we could not have anticipated for ourselves, and gives us a chance to start over and do something new. Gives us a chance to grow. It may not feel like it at the time, but it's the teacher of hard knocks, or the pain teacher, as it were. But I invite us all to remember that we are all people. We all have value. And don't let some executive make you feel otherwise. Because we all are here for a reason. We all have value. We all are made of love. We are all perfect in our own ways. And there's always a light at the end of the tunnel.